everything what liability in construction project means? If not, today I'm going to introduce to your attention what the liability in Danish construction project means and why it is so important to know who is the responsible in the different situations. The case today is about conversion of the ground floor in a multi-story building on Herluftrollesgade number 30. The conversion is going to change the apartments into an office area for architect company. The chosen contract form for this project is main contract. The consultancy team is called RENCON. In this moment, the project is before tendering phase, where the contractors will be invited to participate in the bidding. The consultant and the client will have a meeting where they are discussing some questions about the responsibilities of the chosen contractors who will work with the commercial area. The consultant will introduce to the client more specific the document AB92 General conditions, which is giving information about the obligation of the contractors and the clients.
Hello Vera, it's nice to see you again.
Hi Peter, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Nice to hear that. So let's go to the main purpose of today's meeting. You wanted to talk about liability of contractors and clients, right?
Yes, I have some questions because I don't understand a lot of things.
Alright. As you know, the tendering is coming soon. In the project, we need to find good contractors to do the construction for the commercial area.
Yes, you're right, Vera. But can you first tell me what risks are typically allocated to the contractors and how they are managed?
As you know, the liability of doing the construction work lies with the contractors. This includes responsibility for defects in the materials and the performance of the work. Also, the contractor is liable for damage to its own work before the handing over period. In addition, he is carrying the risks of general price variation of materials, cost of equipment and manpower. Another thing also is that the contractor is liable for the prices of additional services where unit prices have been agreed. This is according AB92, paragraph 14.
Okay, I understand that. I also want to know how liability can be excluded or restricted under the local law.
Well, according to AB92, paragraph 35.2, the contractor is not liable for the client's indirect loss. For example, indirect loss could be loss of profit. But if the contractor is acting with gross negligence and cause defects to his own work, he has the obligation to make compensations.
What if the liability for the contractor company is limited by any agreement?
In this case, it can include a cap on the amount of the contractor's insurance, for example. It is also possible to put in the contract excluding liability clause for the contractors which work have been done with defects. Then the company has no obligation to cover the payment, and you, as a client, has to do that.
Okay, but is there any other way to restrict the obligations for my project?
Yes, there is limitation of the responsibilities by time. In AB92, paragraph 32, is written that the deadline for claims is 5 years after the handing over period. Or, with other words, the contractor has the obligation and the right to repair defects found after the handing over.
So, you're saying that if something goes wrong with the commercial area, I can claim up to 5 years and the contractor is obligated to repair it for its own expense?
Yes, Peter, you're right. However, if it's an engineering work, it is a bit different. Keep in mind that this provision is specific to the AB92 conditions, and it is unlikely to apply in the projects where AB92 is not agreed.
So, what happens if I don't make any claims for the period of 5 years?
Then the contractor obligation to repair any defect is lapsing.
Alright. Now this is clear for me. I have another question. Do the contractors agree on cap of the liability, and if yes, how is this performed?
So Peter, usually this is more common area for us, the consultants, where liability amount is capped according to our insurance coverage. A contractor's responsibility for delay is regulated through liquidated damages. They do not make any actual limitation of the obligation unless the amount is capped, but that is not that common.
Thank you, Vera. I think I don't have any more questions right now. Wish you a good day.
You're welcome, Peter. See you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is the end of today's video. I hope this video was helpful and gave you a general idea about the obligations between contractors and clients, according to the Danish document AB92. But remember, the best learning is not studying a document, but reading between the lines and reflecting on it in a real working area. Thank you for listening.